Good morning and welcome to the Roundtable, a special media event with the Prime Minister and members of the Media Association of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have representatives from four media houses here in St. Kitts. We have Mr. Ralston Rankin of Sugar City FM. Ralston Rankin of Sugar City FM, Miss Carla Berridge of ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, Mr. Glenn Batt of SKN Newsline, and Miss Sharima Matthew of SKNIS. With us, with the Prime Minister today, also we have sign language interpreter, Mrs. Lanicia Collins. And today we are celebrating Teachers Day, World Teachers Day. So I wish to give a bit of shout out to our teachers, wishing you a happy Teachers Day. And I just trust that you get the recognition and appreciation that you deserve today. Actually, Mrs. Lanicia Collins Williams is also a teacher, so special Teachers Day greetings to you. The Prime Minister will be speaking on a few main topics today, but of course, it's open to the media to ask additional questions of national interest. Today, he'll be speaking on the Independence 40 reset, having a recap on that, the United Nations General Assembly meetings, and the second Caribbean Small Island Developing States high level dialogue on climate change. At this point, I'll hand it over to the Prime Minister, who will deliver his opening statements before opening the floor to the media to engage in conversation.
Thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary, Mrs. Adelcia Falance, for the opening remarks. Let me, of course, before I get started, welcome all the participants from the media. It's always good to have a sit down and a discussion on the serious matters that are affecting our Federation, St. Kitts and Nevis, and to keep our people informed. I also want to recognize all of our citizens and residents who are tuning to this roundtable. I want to thank you for sharing your time with us. Let me say a special happy Teachers Day to all teachers here in the Federation, the region, and around the world. Teaching is, of course, a selfless type of profession where more is given than is taken. I myself had my opportunity to be a teacher, and so I understand the importance of teachers, and I want to thank them very much for their dedication and hard work to educating the peoples of the world, and of course, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, to the Minister of Education, those who are in leadership, and all. Thank you all very, very, very much. We are coming off of a phenomenally successful Independence 40 celebration. It was, in some people's estimation, mind blowing and memorable. I'm proud of the work of the Independence Committee, the work that they put in to ensure nationals and residents could enjoy themselves as we honor the land of our birth, St. Kitts and Nevis. Most noteworthy was our administration's independence reset. But I want to really congratulate the members of the Independence Committee and also the co-chairs, Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Dr. Marcus Natter from the Prime Minister's office, and Ms. Vera Galloway, who is also from the Prime Minister's office, and their whole committee for the excellent job that they would have done, of course, working with others in and out of government. But most noteworthy was our administration's independence reset, which I was proud to introduce to our people as a testament to our shared commitment to empowering our people, alleviate the economic hardships that many would have suffered as a result of COVID-19, and honor our people for their invaluable role in shaping our beloved nation. That is very critical. For those who built this nation and built the foundation of our independence, many of them are gone on, and may their souls be blessed. But they worked tirelessly hard for very little so that today we can enjoy an advancing independent nation. I want to recognize them, the unsung heroes who fought so hard so that we can be where we are at today. We were a small country, but we were daring enough to take on the gigantic responsibility of being independent and being counted among the nations of the world. That cannot go unsaid. And that is why I thought it was the most opportune time at our 40th anniversary to really gift our people and to help them really to deal with a lot of the economic difficulties that they were dealing with, but to also say to them, for your hard work of building a nation, your country is indeed grateful and should pay homage to you in words, but also in a tangible way. So I want to thank all of our people who have contributed to the development of our independent nation. Our Independence Reset program focused on five main aspects that aligned with our Sustainable Island State agenda, incorporating land, housing, electricity, and water infrastructure, and of course, you, our nation's pride. Land normalization, allocation, and distribution, the land reset. Um, in a land scarce nation like ours, land ownership is pivotal to our social transformation. We acknowledge the challenges faced in recent years, and we are taking significant steps to ease the path to home ownership as well. We have reduced interest rates, we've moved interest, or I would say penalties, on past lots that people would have had, extended interest waivers, and we have offered a flexible payment option. This Labour Party administration is here to help you, the people, achieve your dreams of land and home ownership. Electricity and water services reset. We understand the financial difficulties that many of our people face with managing their utility bills. To assist, we offered to reconnect all residential Skelec and water services department customers who were disconnected, and we ask that they go in and they sit with the relevant persons at these institutions. We're asking our people to be responsible with the use of electricity. It is critically important. Turn off the lights when you don't need it. Plug out the fan when it's not being used. Your chargers, to plug them out. To manage how you iron your clothes instead of ironing one piece per day, see if you can do it in bulk. Use bulbs that are energy saving bulbs. You have to become more responsible with the use of energy. It is not free. We have to subsidize it to the tune of millions. That is not sustainable. It is the truth. We have to do our part. When it comes to water, we're asking you to conserve as well. Running water to wash one plate is going to waste a lot of water. Taking extended baths also. Brushing your teeth while you bathe, for example. Brushing your teeth with running water. These sound like simple measures, but these simple measures are what really makes the difference. I'm asking our people to treat water with care. It is scarce because of climate change. The government is now doing as much as it can to bring resolve, which we will, and we are doing. Presently, we are in Keon giving out catchment receptacles in the hardest hit areas so that it can bring some relief to the people who sometimes go without water for days or a week at a time sometimes. We are drilling. We are doing desal. We are investing heavily in our water situation infrastructure here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but we're asking you to do your part. We also dealt with housing arrears. We said home ownership is a cherished dream. We are eliminating NHC penalties and we're setting outstanding mortgages balance. And this goes for persons who would have had homes from since 1998. Also, for those who would have been compliant, we are freezing their interest rate so that their payment can go directly to their principal and help to pay down their houses. So those who would have been compliant, we are saying thank you as well and giving you a benefit to say that it makes sense for you to pay your bills. And so we want to thank them for doing that and to do that in a tangible way. When it comes to building materials as well, as you know, we have cut taxes overall on building materials so that it's cheaper to do renovation, which goes up to 2024. It is cheaper for a first-time home owner as well. You have a year after you would have accessed it. And We want persons to renovate their homes, build new homes, become homeowners in St. Kitts and Nevis. And this is also in keeping with a number of products that um, the National Bank has put out. The National Bank has put out a number of things to help people to become homeowners, whether it's through graduate program, whether it's through the new mortgage program or the switch program. I'm asking, and other institutions besides the National Bank have also. So visiting your financial institution to deal with home ownership or home improvement, you can benefit from this as well. And then Workers' Independence 40 bonus. We thought that, at Independence 40, a significant milestone, that a bonus should be given to thank our workers for the work that they would have done to build this independent nation. And for the first time, we extended the bonus to all of our people. This is not something that is done, very often. And I don't think we can expect this to be done very often either. But at Independence 40, we think to say to our workers who have contributed to this nation that we wanted to say to you, thank you, and to do that in a tangible way by giving our workers bonus. I want our people to know that tremendous sacrifice had to be made in order for us to be able to do this, because I don't think any other country in the Caribbean is in a position to do this. I don't think this type of research has ever been done. I did the research, whether it is St. Kitts, Nevis, any other country within the Caribbean region that I know of, and I stand to be corrected. But this is revolutionary, especially coming after COVID, where we give the people of St. Kitts and Nevis a real chance. Would there be challenges going forward? Yes. But this gives an opportunity to deal better with those challenges. We cannot expect a bonus to be happening all the time. This is an expensive undertaking. We cannot expect a reset to be happening all the time. This, of course, costs a lot of money, but we have done it post-COVID. We know people are dealing with economic stress, psychological stress from being locked down, no jobs for 2 years. Mental health is a major issue. So we had to alleviate the stress and strain from our people. And with this alleviation, the people now can concentrate on rebuilding their lives. I just want to put the reality out there because we will have to deal with the reality as well. But I want the people to know that this government, this administration is working extremely hard to make sure that you are taken care of. I'm sure we all enjoy the Prime Minister's lecture by Ms. Psyche Southwell. Excellent presentation. We also had our heroes there, two events, one at the park in Connery area and one in St. Paul's. We have gone back to St. Paul's because we thought that it was ill-advised to abandon the Bratcher's monument in St. Paul's. He's our first national hero. An event had always been kept there. Even if a new area had been developed, we should not disrespect our first national hero like that. And it will be staple that an event is also done at his memorial. And we intend to build out that memorial going forward. We had a night parade, which was tremendous. We saw the outturn of the people in their thousands. I also recognize that they had, instead of fireworks, they did a drone show. The young people decided to put that together. I want to congratulate them on really coming forward and giving a new idea and initiative in terms of the drone show, which told the story of St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, the young people would always have room for improvement as they go forward, but I want to thank them for that tremendous amount of work they did on their initial iteration of presenting a drone show of our history here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We also had school visits. We did the primary school and the high school. Now we are getting calls that we should also do the preschools, and that is not off the table at all. And I've even been asked to go to Nevis. I was able to go to Nevis for their parade. I am told that is the first time ever that the Prime Minister has gone to Nevis for their parade. I was told that, but I intend to continue to make sure that the office of the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's office, is present in Nevis as we are one federation marching on together, especially after 40 years of independence. So once again, I want to thank those who worked so hard to make sure that our independence celebration were excellent. As you know, Nevis had a very huge concert, which was successful, part of our independence celebration, to make sure that Nevis and St. Kitts participated fully in the celebration. And it culminated, of course, with the concert here in St. Kitts on Saturday evening. And so that's it in a nutshell for the independence. Just to update the people, I also traveled to the United Nations General Assembly. That is one of the one of the activities of the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister that is extremely important. There at the United Nations, I had the opportunity to listen to world leaders and to also make a presentation at the United Nations, which I did. And I spoke to a number of critical matters in my speech. I spoke to the fact that the UN system in terms of the Security Council should look at reform. I said that they should reset. I also spoke to the issue of climate change and how it's affecting us. One of the quotes that the UN put out that I made with respect to, and I do not quote, but surmise, to say that we are suffering the impact of climate change like no other region, and we are least responsible for the causes of climate change. And those who are responsible and benefited most from the activity that's causing climate change, when a country like St. Kitts and Nevis have to ask for funding to build resiliency, adaptation, and so forth, we are being asked to borrow at very high interest rates, meaning we did not cause the problem, but we have to pay to fix it for us to continue to live here in the Caribbean. And so I think that our United Nations meetings went extremely well. And I want to thank, of course, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Foreign Minister, the Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas and his team, and the team from the Prime Minister's office that made sure that our presentation at the United Nations was impactful. Later, I went to the second Caribbean Small Island Developing States High-Level Dialogue on Climate Change in Grenada. I traveled from the United Nations down there with Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action, Dr. Joya Clark, and I attended the second Caribbean Small Island Developing States High-Level Dialogue. Now, as I said before, so this was important. A number of prime ministers were there, and a number of international organizations were also there. I spoke to a number of issues, but one of the issues that I really spoke to was the issue of water. There's water scarcity in our northern part of the Leeward Islands, and there's water scarcity because of climate change and El Nino. And our people have to understand that that is what is happening. Climate change is upon us. The sargassum, the seaweed we see on the shore, that's climate change. The place is so hot. That is climate change. No water, as previously mentioned. That is climate change. When you see the beaches are disappearing, like Cape Coy, the beach has disappeared. That is climate change. And therefore, we have to now educate our people as to the impact of climate change and how we can do all the activities to make sure that we deal with it effectively. And that is what the Sustainable Island State is all about. So I just want to, in a nutshell, the last few weeks were very gruesome in terms of the schedule, dealing with the independence celebration here and abroad. I was asked to come to Canada to celebrate, asked to come to New York to celebrate, and being asked to come to Washington to celebrate. Because the 40th anniversary is a significant milestone, and therefore one would expect the activities to be enhanced compared to other years. We can't expect the same level of celebration, for example, next year. But looking forward to the 50th as a country, we expect that to be even bigger than what took place with our 40th anniversary of independence. So once again, I just wanted to make those opening remarks, and I'll give the media an opportunity to ask questions and for us to interact. And as I said, this roundtable is mainly for a dialogue and not, in the sense, a press conference in the traditional sense, but to have a dialogue on a number of issues that are affecting the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So I turn it over to you now.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Glenn Batt from SK Newsline. Now, Mr. Prime Minister, there's a situation in which we are hearing of arrests being made in China in regards to a project, a CBI-related project here in St. Kitts, the prison that was developed or being developed or being promoted by the company Galaxy. And I also understand that there are over 1,000, almost 2,000 applications for this project to be signed. My question, therefore, is one, are you going to sign these applications? And given the history behind the establishment of this particular project. And secondly, what can you tell us about these investigations that are being carried out in relation to CBI projects for St. Kitts?
So let me say, Glenn, thanks for the question. As you know, the CBI has been part of our national development. I had said during the campaign that once the people give us the opportunity, that we will do all that we can do in terms of our good governance framework, bring everything under that framework, including the CBI. The CBI, as you know, I have gone forward with the team to deal with the regulations and tighten the regulations as tight as possible. I think that St. Kitts and Nevis program has made the most significant changes. People have said to me, why such significant change even before this happened? Because I had determined that this program has to make sure it advances, but also it work under the framework of good governance. And so therefore, if you look at our regulations, you will recognize that our regulations are probably the most stringent within the region, if you look at them. And I have gone ahead and changed them to make sure. As you know, we met with our partners, the UK, the European Union, and so forth. And the Americans, where we also had meetings to say to them that we are responsible partners. Our due diligence is tight, and we have tightened it to make sure that our program cannot be used for anything. Since I got there, and we have made sure that I don't know if you know about the major case, we have determined that anybody who make any violation, we are going to block their passport. We have done that. And there was a case where we were challenged and we won the case. I wish you would hear about that one as well as the media so that you can report on how tight we are when it comes. I cannot speak to the specific of that, but what I can speak to is that anybody who comes to the CBI program, they must come under the regulations that we have. So let's say you were there, and even if you were there before, you must come under the present regulations. If you're not complying with the present regulations, then you can't go forward. That is my position. And any project based on the new regulations, you have to comply. We have published the new regulations. They have gone all over the world. I was criticized by some in this space of being too tight and too hard. I can't be too tight and too hard. We have to make sure that we do what we have to do to engender that type of confidence from our partners. So when we meet with them, they can say exactly. And we have made significant changes and we are fine-tuning it. And then I will present that to the world. So the project of which you speak, if you don't comply with the regulations, can't happen. It will not happen. I have said to them, and meetings have been held with all of the CBI persons who are in this space. I myself had a chance to have a meeting with them right here at Marriott. And I told them that these changes are necessary and we are going to be responsible partners and we are going to continue to dialogue with our international partners to show them our position with making sure that we do all that we have to do so that we can engender that type of confidence in them. So what you speak of, I don't know what happened in another country. I can tell you what happened in St. Kitts and Nevis. We did not wait until something happened to react. As we came in, apart from opening up the country, which was done on the 7th of August, the next thing was bring the CBI regulations, let's look at them. And I asked the AG that you have to start working on them. This is your first order of business. He brought the first iteration, which we did, then the second iteration, which we have now done. And so that now is very tight, good due diligence, responsible, and can be present. And anyone who does not comply, he or she cannot go through with respect to the CBI program. So as you ask that question, it depends on persons whether they comply or don't comply. If they don't comply on it, you can't go through. And that is simple. And this is now, we have it much more transparent and much more open. People see clearly what we are sticking to. And people have been called in to say, this is what we are sticking to. So I can say the position that we have taken as a government, and we have not done that in a reactionary way. That is why I think the St. Kitts and Nevis program was still judge number one. And it is not because we are reacting. It is because we understand that we have to make sure that we continue to move forward and to make the program advance as everything else advances and everything else changes, so that we can be a step ahead. I don't want to be in line. I want to be a step ahead. And because of that, now this has happened that you speak of. I don't know the specifics of it, but that would not trouble me because I have my regulation in place to protect me and to protect this country, which I did and which we did in a proactive format. So the question you asked, nobody can have anything go through unless they come under the regulation. So as I said, when we came into government, it's about we made a lot of things in there that we sought to deal with, but we sought to deal with them from a good governance standpoint, whether it is the CBI, whether it is the government, statutory bodies. When you are measured against good governance and you are for wanting, well, I have started to let the people know where the wantings are. And it is important that people understand what we had to deal with. I will say to you about, it's almost like everything was corrupt. I'm not talking about the CBI, I'm talking about, in general. It's like everywhere you go to land, you go to a bank, you go to the procurement system, it's almost, you go to the Bastia High School, the development bank, how the Social Security was managed, how these things were procured, is almost everything. The more you dig, is like, where's the bottom? Where's the bottom?
Is there are there any international investigations that you know? Are there any international investigations that you know of taking place on any individual or individuals who were associated with the CBI program before you came into office?
So I have heard stuff. I have not seen anything concrete to me. But again, I can only speak from my perspective that we have put in there strict regulation and laws. We have tightened them. And if you don't comply, you cannot participate in this program. That is what I would say. You cannot participate in this program. And that is what I will stick to. So I want people to really look at what has this administration done. What has it done? It has tightened up. It has brought people in. It has told people that you need to comply in order to continue to participate in this. Not for any other reason except that we change the laws and you have to respond to the new laws. I mean, when you take over a new administration and new government, one would understand that there are things that you have to deal with. For example, I'm dealing with good governance. We cannot, as a team, resolve all the issues that are dealing with compliance to good governance in a short space of time as a year. So we put the laws in place and now we are rolling out the good governance agenda, which I think we would know would take some time to fully implement if we are going to be realistic. It cannot happen overnight. But that was one of the first things that we started to do. You know when people are going to really start to appreciate good governance? As people hear this type of things that can happen. And good governance is a measure to prevent those things from happening. I think people are going to appreciate that. So if there are international investigations and there is information that we can benefit from, we want that information as well. But it has to be credible information as well. Of course, can be anybody doing anything on the fly, or somebody feel like I should say this or I should say that. An investigation has to go on, because when you make allegations and so forth, you have to make sure that you have proper information. Just like with the development bank, people kept asking, when are you going to talk? I am not irresponsible. I cannot speak about, for example, the development bank unless I have information gathered by a reputable institution, an institution that has the requisite underpinnings to carry out an audit as the type that was done with the development bank. After that is had, scrutinized, proved, looked at, all of these things, and I can come to the people and say, this is what I found. So nobody is going to rush me irresponsibly to give information that cannot be, of course, corroborated. I have to make sure that the information given is solid information. Because, as I said, I'm not on a witch hunt. Because people can do things if they're witch hunting. I am not witch hunting. I ask, look at this and present to me the information. And I did not want anybody or any organization from St. Kitts and Nevis or within the region who might have a bias to do it. You have no political affiliation in St. Kitts and Nevis, either directly or indirectly. Look at the books of this institution. And based on your own ethical standards and high standards, tell us what you have found. After that comes, we have to look at it and make sure that we have all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted, so that we're not witch hunting. So as you speak about international investigation and so forth, I would say that this has to be done credibly, and it has to be done in a way, because when people come with information and your information is not credible for one, or it's motivated by the wrong reasons that can upend what you are seeking to do, and you really don't want to tarnish people's name, reputations, and so forth, unless you are standing on good ground. Otherwise, you put yourself at serious risk. So I would say that if there are international investigations that are carried out by reputable organizations for the right reasons and so forth, and of course, we will welcome that information, because as I told you, when we deactivate people's passport, we get that information from reputable organization that we are connected to, and we immediately act. And we went to court and we won the case to tell people you cannot use your opportunity to have a St. Kitts and Nevis passport for nefarious reasons. We will act, and we have the necessary legislation and the necessary backing from the legal side to make sure. And that was a major case. And I'm going to ask that we put it out so people can see that St. Kitts and Nevis is serious when it comes to that. So I can't say that anybody has informed me credibly of any information, and I meet with my partners all the time. However, if information surfaces that we should have, we are going to act on it, whether it's this person or that person. If you committed anything that we can now see, then we will act with respect to that. So even with the CBI program that has come under the good governance, and people associated with it also have to declare, the October 31st is the end date for us to declare our assets and so forth with the Integrity Commission and so forth. So I look forward. I've started the process, and I, of course, will complete the process before that, and all the members on this side of our administration will do that as well. If people in a certain position don't feel comfortable doing that, then they would have to say, look, I resign my position and move on. I can assist in other ways that does not, cause me to do that, which means you might have less of a connection. And that is fine. People must know, if I'm holding a particular position, this is the type of scrutiny that I must go under. And we are rolling that out. First time in St. Kitts and Nevis. That had been promised since 2015 by the previous administration. We got there in 2022 and not done. We put that in less than a year. We are, of course, giving our information so that good governance can start to take root in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Honorable Prime Minister Ralston Rankin from Sugar City FM. Before I go into my question, I must say that my issues or questions that I bring to you, whether via the press conference or this round table, and I must say we do appreciate you taking the time, to do this on your busy schedule. My questions do come from the persons in the streets and the community and so forth.
Come from them. If you have a specific matter, I would like you to touch base with our cabinet secretary so that that person who you bring the question for can have their matter.
Oh, no, it's not an individual. No. That's one thing. Yes, I don't bring individual questions. Right.
The case, yes, for them to have redress.
Yeah. Mhm.
We have put back the ombudsman in place as part of the good governance structure. So you can go to the ombudsman now. He's in place since we got into office, and he can be accessed, or the office can be accessed.
I'm sure persons listening would be appreciating
And
that
persons
information.
are accessing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. On that being said, one of the things that I tend to, do as a media person is not just to bring the issues, whether it might be bad or good in the eyes of the public, but to also congratulate you or your government on, matters that pertaining to the country that, persons do benefit from. In the case of the recent reset with the $1,000, the feedback that I got is that people are very, happy to receive it at a time like this. So I have to pass that on to you as well, just to congratulate you on that. With that being said, would you be able to give a figure as to how much was paid out through that whole process? Also, I noticed that, and this is St. Peter's, which I know is dear to you and dear to me as well. I noticed water tanks was issued in your constituency. Congratulations on that as well. Like I said, is that something where anyone can get it, or is it just for persons or places that is most affected, by the water crisis that we face? And one more question is the minimum wage. I know that's a very serious issue, pertaining to persons right now. It's been over a year. Would you be able to at least say if the committee has reached a position whereby they might have a figure or figures between an average of what they might be looking at for persons to get that increase in the minimum wage?
Thank you very much. With respect to the payout, we are getting the final. We're going to get the final numbers, but I know a double salary normally could cost government $30-something million. I can say that. And the last time I checked, we are rolling it out. We're at $20-something million, but we're going to roll it out over time. So that is where we are at. And this, as I told you, is because it's special for Independence 40, right, to touch our workers. So that is where we are at with it. So when we meet again, I'll be able to give you a further update as to how much we have gone to. Now, with respect to the water tanks, as you know, I'm going to officially launch that project. But they have gone ahead to give the tanks, and they're going to stabilize the tanks and so forth in place. It is right now for the areas hardest hit. We know where the cries are coming from. It happened to be my constituency. Keyon has been having the problem for some time. I'm sure Key's experiencing some as well. But Keyon in the upper part of Upper Monkey Hill, in Stapleton and so forth, because how the system is set up, the water comes down and it's pumped back up. So it means, therefore, those who are higher up are least likely to receive water if there's a shortage of water. So that is what has happened in Keyon and the environs and in St. Peter's. So we are going to those areas. And why we are doing that? We are going there to give them a large receptacle that can hold multiple gallons of water, so that when we fill them up, they would have water for at least a week. That is what we are hoping for. So the water truck does not have to go through, and they are out of water because they have these small buckets. We estimated for those persons who need it most, economically, financially, they're a big constraint at this time. And so the government had gone ahead to do a project to really supply them. So it's really for those who are hardest hit, which is the parts in Keyon and in Upper St. Peter. So those are who getting it. So we don't care which political party you support, whether it's PAM, Labour, whoever. Once you're in those hard hit areas, you will get a water tank. Initially to be used as a storage receptacle. So you don't have to be wanting the water truck every 2 seconds. If water gone for 2-3 days, you have no water at all. So we want to eliminate that. So we have the water trucks that will be able to supply them, the fire truck that can do non-potable water, or the water truck, which is a more potable type of water. So that is to answer your question. So the hardest hit areas are those we're going to address. Why we think so? Right now in Keyon, we have discovered the largest well of underground water ever in St. Kitts and Nevis. The single largest ever was found. We have tested it initially, very potable, good water. You have to do what you call the 72-hour, where you have the pipes down and you let the water run and you keep testing it, so that you don't want to just take water from, let's say, one area and that water is good, but that water coming from an area may not be good. So we have ordered those pipes, because those pipes were not in St. Kitts. BEAD has ordered those pipes. Those pipes are supposed to be in. So within the next few weeks, that study will be carried out and we'll be able to say the 72-hour study has shown that the water is potable. Next move now is to connect it. The well is about 700,000 to 1 million gallons per day, which is a significant amount of water. It will eliminate all of the water shortages in Keyon, Keys, and the environs. That water that used to share between Keyon and St. Peter's will now be able to go more to St. Peter's. So we expect that well to resolve the issue in Keyon and St. Peter's, the hardest hit areas. Now with the Basti area, we're going to resolve that because we have increased desalination at Marriott. That water is going to go to southeast. So the water that used to come from the Basti Valley aquifer to supply this area over here will no longer be used. So the water can now be diverted back to Basti, St. Peter's, and so forth. So within the next, even without the well in Keyon, we are going to see improvement with just a desal plant, which will come on stream within the next 2 weeks. Because we're already constructing the pump house for Timothy Hill. We pump it up from Marriott and then it drain down into southeast and so forth. And that will supply, because a few 100,000 gallons per day that we have increased that by. It has nothing to do with the desal plant we are going to construct this year coming, which is a 2 million gallon desal plant. So we intend to eliminate, and then BEAD is going to go around St. Kitts drilling. The drilling is not going to stop. And as we drill, when we have more water than we need, we're going to have storage tanks to store the water. So the drilling process, which was stopped by the last administration, they try in the last part of the administration to try a thing when they have a full service. If they had not stopped BEAD, Keyon water problem would have been solved since 2017, the latest. 2017, the latest. The Bastia would have been solved as well, because even the one by Shadwell, they would have gone in and fixed it. But they couldn't fix it because there were fights. The last minister and prime minister and minister of infrastructure, they dropped the ball for the people of Keyon, St. Peter's, and the people of St. Kitts on a whole. Water is something you don't play with. Everybody needs water. After air, the most vital thing to the human body is water. Air, then water, then food, in that order. And so people understand that water is a very basic need. And so you needed to get it. The administration dropped the ball. And so we have only been there for a year, and we have responded with desalination, drilling, and water tanks. Those things could have been done since between 2015 and 2017 within your administration and resolved the water problem to a great extent here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But the priorities were wrong. They were focused on other things and not in bringing vital water to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is where we are with the water tanks. With respect to the minimum wage, we are going to wrap up very soon by this, based on what the committee is telling me, headed by the Honorable Sam Conda. Of course, our aim is at the 500N, and there might be recommendation, should we do it in 2 steps based on the economy and so forth. But they are doing work. Again, people say it has been a year, but the last administration was there for 7 years and did not put 1 cent on the minimum wage. Not 1 cent. And I think our people understand that to ask this new administration to do it in less than a year, when you have to go through the processes and so forth, they understand that it is not possible to do it so soon if you have to do the relevant consultation with the private sector, the workers' union, within the government and other stakeholders. But we have been working feverishly hard in the sense also that we have even brought in a specialist from Barbados to deal with productivity, because with increased minimum wage, you need increased productivity. Otherwise, where the money is going to generate from to sustain an increased minimum wage. So our people also have a responsibility to work as well to increase their productivity. Increased productivity does not always mean work harder. It just means that whatever we do, we are more efficient at it. For example, I can tell you, using IT, information technology, can resolve a number of critical matters things that could have taken 5 hours can now take you an hour. That is working, that is what? Increasing productivity. Increased training can increase productivity. So we are asking our people really that we will need them in all of this. That while we work to reset and give you a bonus and give you a minimum wage, the government cannot function if we don't increase productivity. It is important that we do to do that as well. But you wanted a number. I cannot say I can give you a number today, Rankin, and I don't want to even act like I'm going around the bush. They are really finalizing the number between the private sector and the government. They're really finalizing how they're going to roll out this. And that, because that is in discussion still and finalization, I really cannot give that number, right? Okay.
Birds, that is a Broadcasting Corporation. Mr. Prime Minister, taking you back to the UN General Assembly, reports indicate that the Sustainable Development Goals will not be reached in the 2030 schedule that they are trying to have it by. It's being said that probably 2080, 2090. Did you get that sense at the meeting? And if so, what is being done to fast track or ensure the 2030 goal?
Right. That's a very good question, because what we have recognized, the issue is really funding. A lot of the funding that was promised, they need 4 trillion. They are now saying 100 billion. I mean, that is a drop in the bucket. It will not be achieved. And it is sad because it puts us here in the Caribbean at serious risk. If we get 2 back-to-back Category 5 hurricanes, we're almost out of this season, thank God. If you get a 5 in 24, or 2 5s in 24, it'll take you what, 30 years to recover? You get a 5 in 24, 1 in 25. This is why all people have to really take the climate change matter seriously. And that is why I'm saying that we need to, I have asked the Ministry of Climate Action to move around as we take the budget on the road and explain to people how serious this is. You get hit by 2 Cat 5 hurricane within a short span, you're struggling for a couple of decades. Because we are seeking to see if we can really reach the 1.5, do not pass the 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's the increase in the world's temperature. And we have seen this year where you have spiked past that. It is not sustainable. It means, therefore, stronger storms, stronger hurricanes, more drought, increased heat. And if that is where we are at serious threat. However, we want to be resilient. We want to adapt. But the issue is that needs funding. Here I'm saying it's talking about smart homes and smart hospital. What about all the other homes and all the other structures that are not up to par to deal with what the changes are presently? Those can be severely and significantly affected. I'm just trying to say we can rush this government to at least have a hospital that can withstand it. So at least we have one institution, a vital institution that can do it. But this is what we face as a country. This is a serious, serious threat to the region, to our survivability. But I always think that there is hope. But our people are going to have to fight for survival as we fought for independence. We're going to have to be at the front line. We're going to have to make sacrifices as a country. If we are not willing to do those things, our very survival is at risk. We need to make sure that we can adapt and we can become more resilient. So that is what we are working to right now. Renewable energy. That is why we are rushing towards new renewable energy. Helps us tremendously. And it helps the environment. Water availability. Information technology to become more efficient and more productive. To give us a real chance to generate the funding to protect ourselves. And that is what we are working towards. And imagine we have to do all that with the backdrop of COVID, post-COVID bad economy. We have to do all that with inflation that we have no control over. We have imported inflation, and people see prices going up. A lot of it has to do with imported inflation. We are cutting duties as much as possible, cutting government revenues, so we can see how difficult that this is coming, and we have to start understanding the truth and the reality in which we live. This is a challenging situation. Over the last year, the government we used money to invest in our people. Because if we did not invest in our people would be in such a bad situation. It doesn't even give them the space to concentrate on nation building. When you have a mother at home and the electricity bill is so high and they cut off the electricity, you can't talk to her about climate change. You have to go talk to her how to get on her electricity even before she starts talking to you about climate change. These basic things. I can't get a cup of water, so climate change cause it's climate change, but I want water. This is Jesus said. I went to Miss Morton Sunday School and I learned a story that Jesus wanted to preach to people, but he said the people hungry. So how can you tell a man about higher things of God and heaven? And the man said, but I'm hungry. And Jesus said, feed the people first, and then we can have a conversation. It's critically important. People see their basic needs because that's how human psychology is set up. But it takes a lot of education to get people to the next step, but we have to make sure we take care of the basic needs as much as possible. Water, energy, food. Now internet is one of them, not the internet, but IT solutions, technology, transportation, housing. People are looking at their basic needs, how can I have these fulfilled? But when that is fulfilled, then we can answer the broader question of climate change and how that is impacting us and how as a nation we can work together. That is why we are coming with the framework, the Sustainable Island State. It gives us an opportunity, a framework in which all of us can work and see ourselves working in order to make sure that we continue to exist as St. Kitts and Nevis. This is a real threat. 2 Cat 5 hurricanes back to back, whether in the same season, which is going to be possible if we pass 1.5, this can become the reality. Or 2 seasons consecutively. And we will see how challenging it would be to recover. Because all the time you're trying to recover, you still have to adapt and be resilient. So just to maintain what is considered to be normal. On top of that, you have to fund adaptation and resilience and so forth. Where is that funding going to come from? And that is why I say, to ask the case, that is why countries cannot achieve it, because it is too expensive and those who benefit most are not contributing. But in the end, all of us will be affected. Somewhere, somehow, the message has to get across. Maybe the people of the world need to stand up and say, look, we cannot accept this. There's enough resources. There are enough resources in the world for us to deal with climate change. What is blocking it is the politics, geopolitics, and it's putting all of us at risk. At least when it came to nuclear weapon, we reached the conclusion that if you use it and I use it, we kill each other. Why is it we're not reaching the conclusion that if you don't cut your emissions and you don't cut yours, all of us will suffer in the end. So I'm saying that it is a sad situation. We should have been further along, and it's not due to the lack of resources, it's due to the lack of political will. That is the number one thing that is holding back all of this.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister Sherma Matthew, SKNIS. On Yesterday's edition of In Focus, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Governor Timothy Antoine mentioned that the bank is organizing a youth symposium which will tackle several topics, including crime. He emphasized the detrimental effects crime can have on both national and regional progress. Following the regional symposium on crime and violence as a public health issue held in April in Trinidad, what strategic measures have been put into action on both the regional and national levels?
So a number of things have been done on the international level, on the regional level, especially collaborating with our partners, the Americans, for example, the Canadians, and and Great Britain, and even strengthening the RSS and so forth. So we have strengthened the RSS so that it can respond. And a number of our officers recently had a course that they were successful with the RSS. We have also seen the setting up of regional vetting centers to help to strengthen our national security apparatus, and that will help us tremendously. That vetting center will make sure that we have the right people in the right places to do it. Not only that, we have seen investments in a boat to manage our waters. We have also seen investments in a radar system to detect anything that is coming into our waters. Why is that important? Most of the guns, the small arms that come into the region, and this is a regional problem, that is what's happening in Haiti, but at the extreme end. But in all of our islands, we have become transshipment points for drugs up to the north because we don't consume a lot of those drugs. And with that drug, guns. And we saw a rise in that during COVID, and especially post-COVID, in all of the countries across the region. So this is a regional issue, and that is why we had the regional symposium. So from a regional standpoint, we are collaborating more. The RSS has stepped up, and our regional partners have been investing more to help us to deal with this matter. On the local front, we have started to put in place our own framework of a committee to deal with crime from a public health perspective. We have revamped to some extent, not to some extent, we have revamped the alternative lifestyle program, or as they used to call it, the peace program, to do what you call the Elevate program, and to make it and we have invested heavily in national security in a number of different agencies within national security. So we have boosted up our national security apparatus by making sure we invest in more resources, some of which I wouldn't speak about specifically, but to say we have increased our resources. We have brought on more experts to help us, especially to set up the necessary infrastructure that we will need to deal with this. But apart from that, we have also gone out to make sure that in the broader sense of social services, that we have expanded that and extended that so that we create a wholesome environment and an environment that is not more prone to create gang members and so forth. So we have invested heavily in that. But in terms of crime and from a public health perspective, we are going to specifically set up that. We won't be the first in the Caribbean to set up that, because that is a comprehensive approach. We know that crime has a solution. The solution has been studied by the World Bank. They studied it extensively, and they had put out a number of specific recommendations, a number of which we have already in St. Kitts and Nevis, and a number of which we will all adopt here so that we can continue to deal with the issue. The issue was dealt with, and we all know that program had become very corrupt. As one of the ACPs said, that the monies from that were used to invest in more machinery in terms of guns and so forth. So that was, of course, creating a worse problem to explode at some point. If you look at countries that employ that type of stuff, you see where those countries ended up. El Salvador, Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica. Just look at the countries that that did this, what we were doing. Those countries are worse off than they were before. Look at them. And because they did that, it became culture. Because we, the government, could have stepped in to deal with its own program. It handed over the programs. And so that culture has been created. And we can't afford that in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is why we are investing in our young people, in our people in general. That is why we have stepped up the national security apparatus. Would it be resolved overnight? No. But I think people are coming to understand there's a great sense that there is a fervent effort to deal with this in a particular way that will be really resolving the issue and will be also be sustainable and will not put us in the long run in worst situations, just like what those other countries went through. They thought at some point, okay, no structure, no organization, just pay. And then they end up with a situation and ask themselves, well, how we ended up here? Well, you ended up here because look at what you did. I know you had a difficult situation, but you didn't call to make the situation worse because you wanted a quick fix to the matter. It is a hard and difficult situation, even for this administration. But we are going to do all that we have to do to deal with this matter so that St. Kitts and Nevis can have a long-term sustainable solution to this ingrained matter. That is why we are bringing on so much programs for our young people. That is why we are investing in sports, the creative economy, the orange economy. That is why we are investing so heavily in education, preschool, increase so mothers can send the children to preschool and have the early intervention, which is one of the most effective ways to prevent crimes in the future and prevent people from becoming gang members. Primary school, we have invested more. College, we have invested more. One-to-one laptop program is to be launched soon. So we have invested even significantly in education. We are investing in health, investing in the orange economy and creative economy to give our people real opportunities and to create an environment where somebody can choose positivity over negativity. And on top of all of that, creating that wholesome environment, the next step now would be creating a national security apparatus to deal with the issues. And I saw, even though we had issues, people were asking, well, the police responded quickly. They've caught all these guys who were involved in these robberies in quick order. Pick up these people, you see these things happening. So it means, therefore, that the police is stepping up, the national security apparatus is stepping up. You know what? We have introduced something called a fusion center. I think maybe, I don't know if this is the first time I'm saying it. We have a fusion center that deals with technology and AI. That's all I'm going to say about it.
As the 2024 budget presentation draws near, and given the administration's focus on transforming St. Kitts and Nevis into a sustainable island state agenda, how will this year's budget presentation distinguish itself from previous years? And as we speak about the sustainable island state agenda, can you highlight any short to medium term measures that the government plans to adopt following discussions from the recent UN General Assembly debate and the second SIDS high-level dialogue on climate change?
Right. Good. So this budget, we want it to be different because it has to respond to the sustainable island state. And therefore, we are approaching it different in terms of our consultations. We have the sustainable island state framework, which we are going to take. First, they had a presentation with the Ministry of Finance and the FS to understand broadly what we are seeking to achieve. And I had a discussion with the FS this morning as to how that can translate in simple terms into tangible benefits for our people. That's one. The second thing that we're going to do, we want to take the consultation broader on the road, to have the input of people, our people, so that they can see exactly that what we are trying to achieve is what they have been asking for, but we are putting it in a framework, a workable framework. And for them to have some level of input as well, they must have an input. And to explain to them why it is necessary that we do this. All of this has to be a part of explaining to them what is climate change, how is climate change affecting us, while we have to do the budget the way we are doing it. What are the threats to St. Kitts and Nevis? How can we mitigate against them? So we want to change the way in which we even build towards the presentation of the budget, which I will do at the budget presentation at the, later this year, so that people can see themselves in it. Now, you spoke about a number of things we will do based on that. We are looking to renewable energy, which we are going to put forward. That is going to secure energy and decrease energy costs. And that is significant, setting up energy as a sector. Coming out of those meetings, we are looking at new investments within St. Kitts and Nevis, again, responding to achieving the sustainable island goal, island state, whether it's through water, for example, new sustainable industry to create jobs in agriculture, food security, and so forth. So that has impacted to some extent in the short term to medium term how we are going to set up that. And we want to change how we negotiate, or how we discuss rather, the budget by taking it to the people for them to have some input, more input as well.
All right, Mr. Prime Minister, I have two questions, and they're both related to the CBI, but one of them is coming from a colleague of mine from SK Newsline. I think what I'll do, I'll read his first. Just a moment. Let me get it up here. Okay, he says, the IMF has reiterated that CBI funds should be saved and invested because the sector is volatile. I know you have been using funds for a number of social programs. What are the plans for the program and funds under them? And will the government release the audit report at the end of 2023 of the CBI funds? That's coming from German Abel, Esken Vibes.
Right. I want to thank him for that. And the question that he has asked, remember that I've always said that CBI has contributed significantly to our development, and we really appreciate that. However, I said that we should set up an economy that is more diversified. And so going into the next year, we are looking at a number of sectors and investments that would help to generate economic activity and help to wean us off of the high dependence on the CBI. We have decreased it since we have gotten there, but we need more activity to make sure. In the post-COVID, we saw some difficulty because the economies were coming back. However, based on the investments we have lined up, that will create jobs, continue to create jobs, and stimulate the economy. So he's correct in the sense that we have to make sure we diversify the economy, expanding tourism, food security, new areas of development, energy as a sector, IT as a hub. We are looking at these different investment opportunities to create economic activity that would help to wean us off of the CBI. And I've said that from the beginning, and I will continue to say that, and we'll continue to work towards that. So that is not just now. If you listen to me since last year, even maybe during the campaign, I would have been speaking about diversifying the economy and so forth. So he's right that we have to do a number of critical things, which we are now moving into in our Sustainable Island State Plan to really achieve the winning. You know what will help us tremendously? Energy. If we were to get sustainable, if we were to get energy, renewable energy, which is cheaper and sustainable, that would help us tremendously in terms of cost saving to our people, to the government, so that those resources can now be used in something else and help us to wean down our dependence on the CBI.
The other CBI-related question that I have now relates to a company called CS Global. From what I understand, it has an exclusive deal with St. Kitts and Nevis, with the St. Kitts and Nevis government since 2013, and could be making as much as $5,000 to over $10,000 per application. The question is therefore, with almost, let's assume that the Galaxy project is able to meet the criteria that you now set, probably close to 2,000 applications or whatever. We are saying that this company is going to be making millions upon millions of dollars off of this single project alone. And it is taxpayers' money that's going to go to pay this company.
Right. I would
But
Right, money that is right from the program. Remember how the program is set up is a non-taxable sector. So it's not. I just just semantics. Right.
So the question is then, would your government continue this deal with this particular company? Because some people feel it has been exorbitant to the extreme to be making this kind of money.
So let me say again, we got there and certain, I would say, contracts were in place, legally bound, of course, right? We made the changes in the regulations. We set up the CBI board, and we are reviewing everything. We have only been there 13 months, roughly, right? 14 months. And you said since 2013 to now is what, a decade? We have only been there about 1/10 of the time. And so therefore, we are bringing everything under the good governance. Everything did not happen overnight. And so we are rolling it out. So wherever we find, as we do our plans and checks where there are issues, we are going to deal with them. And we are willing to deal with them because and you have been in the CBI space, that people rose up and start to criticize a lot of the changes that we were making, or the changes that we are making. And we are deciding that we are legally the spaces, and we'll seek for the legal space to do what we have to do. These are things that we would have met in place. And so we have to deal with them accordingly. So anything that does not come under where we consider to be an issue of promoting the program, helping the program, and so forth, because at the same time that somebody might mention the cost, again, you have to ask if you're getting your bang for your buck, correct? Let's say this is a Koi hotel, and it costs Koi $1 million to market Koi, and somebody else offer you $10,000. But let's say Koi $1 million is making sure that Koi is making 20. Koi might say, well, I'm getting my bang for my buck based on the ratio of what I'm getting and what I have to spend to maintain where I'm at. So questions like that, right? I'm just saying in the general sense. But we are applying the good governance regulations to every sector, the CBI and all the other ministries, to come into compliance. And we have started the process. It is a difficult process because, of course, we had to uproot many things, but we're making sure that legally we are protected as well. There will always be questions, but what I want to promise our partners and to say to our partners, when it comes to the due diligence and the security of our program, it is very, very tight. That is not in question at all. This is our national product, and we are the people, and we, the government who represent, the administration who represent the people here, we will make sure that we do what we have to do under the good governance agenda. A lot of these questions I know weren't being asked before. I listened carefully, and a lot of these questions weren't being asked. And then when they were asked, they were treated like, I remember when they were asked, the prison project was asked about in the last administration. Well, in the people money, so it's the people product. They have to know. You have to give them a reasonable answer. You just can't brush it off like that. And so what I would say, all of them would come under the good governance. As you see our regulations, as time roll out, you will see the changes. You will see the changes that are taking place to strengthen our program. So your question is a very good question. And the question that you asked is an excellent question as well. I would say that our program is recognized as number one, even with the tough changes that we have. And those, because we think that you can have tough laws, responsible laws, be a program that engenders the confidence of your partners, and at the same time, be a financially stable program of, I will say, a finance generating program. The two can go hand in hand, and we are proving it. So your question again, that is a very important question.
Mr. Prime Minister, the Federation's youth, they have a voice and they're being given seats at many tables these days. In terms of climate change, what insight can you give us into the role that the young people the role of the young people in the government's work toward alleviating climate change?
Right. So the effects and impact of climate change, that is a very good question that the young people are playing a good part. What we have done, for example, even at the ministry that deals with climate action, one, we have changed it to climate action. You have a fairly young minister there, in the person of Minister Joya Clark, Dr. Joya Clark. And with that, she has brought on a cadre of young people. Not only that, just recently we gave out some scholarships to young people who will be studying in the realm of climate change, resilience, adaptation, that space of environment, which of course brings young people with the requisite training to be at the table to make decisions as to the way forward. But we want young people to also participate at the granular level. For example, let's say we want to change to solar system. Do you know that right now we are setting up at the college possibly the largest solar panel technician course in the OECS? That's young people who will be trained in how to deal with the installation of solar panels, their repairs, their replacement, and so forth. They will be participating directly in our agenda to transform to renewable energy. When it comes to the issue of water, we are seeking to send our young people to become water engineers. But we also want our young people to be at the front line in dealing with water conservation, water harvesting, even the tanks that are being rolled out. Young people are involved, taking them to the community, educating young people. Through Community Empowerment Office, we set up, we had a town hall in Keon. So we want them at all levels. That's why I mentioned that. One, at the leadership level, getting educated about it. At the granular level, and I just mentioned one, become trained in the new economy to deal with renewable energy. And so we want that course to start so we can start preparing our people. At some point, you want a lot of house roofs in St. Kitts and Nevis to have solar panel. So we want our young people to participate on every single level, including the activist level. I think the young people are supposed to be protesting against these international companies that are damaging the climate. They can do that in St. Kitts. And so the young people have come out to promote, to speak out against irresponsible behavior that is leading to the significant climate change. We want them to be at all levels, including the activism. The reason why I'm saying that, I'm not seeing enough activism from our people in the Caribbean when it comes to climate change. We were at a SIDS meeting in Grenada, and I did not see one placard outside against climate change. We need more activism. We need to create activists so that when they go to the universities, they're speaking out. The University of the West Indies, the students are speaking out. Bastia High School, the students are speaking out. When they go to the international forum and so forth, they're speaking out. The disc jockey on the radio is speaking out. The writers are speaking out. Those who make plays and in the creative economy, they're speaking out. I don't know, have I heard a reggae song talking about climate change? I don't think so. So we need to get it down to that level. I want to hear calypsos talking about climate change. This is the number one threat, to our very existence. And we have to lend our voice and activism to highlighting the matter. So young people should get involved there as well, using the technology that they know how. Send around WhatsApp instead of sending around things that, that are not wholesome. Send around something to educate people on climate change. Put it in all kind of fancy ways that you know how it would spread the word around the world and so forth. So we need that activism as well. But I would say that we have our young people, every level, orange economy, environment, to participate in the economy. We just launched a small grant program for small businesses, and those small businesses that we did 40 for 40. We want a number of them to deal with the climate change issue. How can you bring a resolution? For example, the water tank. That idea was brought to me by Mr. Ashley Allers. He said, look, the people ain't got no water. Why you don't think about getting them water tanks? In the previous administration, people got garbage bins. So if the government can give garbage bins, which is not a need, it's not a need. Water, which is a need. So why you can't give even those who are most affected a receptacle to store water so that they can have access to water? That is what we are saying. But to go back and through that core question. Yes, we want our young people to be, and we are encouraging them to participate at every level with this climate change issue.
Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister, I agree with you that more can be done in spreading awareness with climate change. Speaking of climate change, I noticed my question is with the issues surrounding the climate change, how will it impact, our goal on the 20 by 25 food security that we have to try and secure with the Caribbean, with the CARICOM region? 25 by 25. Yes.
Yes.
Also, early up, I always got to throw in something for St. Peter's. It's very close to me. Early up in the year, at one of your press conference, I asked a question on the St. Peter's Main Road, which the minister said that it will be started this year end. Given it was budgeted in the last budget, only 2 more months and a couple of weeks left for the year to finish. Is that still on the agenda with the minister?
All right, very good question. Thank you very much. On the 25 by 25, climate change is affecting it. For example, less water. So we know even before we start coming out, we have to now go resolve the water problem so that water can be available for the farmers. That is one way in which it is significantly affecting us. The prolonged drought, has affected food production. However, even though that has happened, we still are implementing things to seek to get there. All right, so we are working tirelessly hard still to get there, but it has slowed us down. It has affected us because when there's a drought and it's so widespread and so long, when it's so long, you really are in a position where you have to put in what you call a drought resilient plan. And this year, I had in my office the water manager, and I also had the PS for agriculture and the FS. And so we came up with a drought resistant plan for agriculture, where we put in a supplementary budget of over $1 million, which included a water truck and other measures that you can take, that you can do to grow more food. And that was not budgeted for. So that is one of the ways in which we are affected. Drought hit us. We have to respond to it. That money could have been used for something else. That is how climate change is draining us, not even giving us a chance to keep up. We have to first be resilient, even to people. Right? So that is a very good question. With respect to the St. Peter's Road, the procurement process has ended. I think it has been awarded already. Well, I know it has been awarded. I think the procurement board would make the announcement. So it is expected to start this year. Because part of the contract is you have to start this year. If you can't start this year, then you would have lied to the procurement board as to when you can start. So that will start this year. So the procurement process is completed and the St. Peter's Main Road will start this year. All right?
Okay, thank you very much, media houses, for
Sorry about that technical difficulties. Thank you to the media houses for coming out and engaging with the Prime Minister on this very important matter. Your attendance assists with keeping the government accountable and helping with our good governance agenda. So once again, thank you. And also wish to thank Mrs. Lanicia Collins, who is our sign language expert, who does an excellent job as well in ensuring that our deaf community is kept abreast of matters of national interest. At this point, I will hand over again to the Prime Minister, who will give his closing remarks just before we wrap up.
Right. Thank you very much again, Press Secretary. I'll just wrap up by saying that I want to thank the Cabinet of Ministers, the whole team. I want to thank the civil servants and all those who have worked tirelessly hard for the Independence 40. The reset itself as a package, the team worked extremely hard. The team that was elected by the people just over a year ago worked extremely hard to bring this forward to the people. This, of course, is not cheap. It is expensive. We took money from our savings to pay for it. But we thought that it would be good to give the people a real opportunity to move forward after 2 years of being debt-laden and the issues of COVID. I'm saying to our people that this type of action is a once in a generation action, maybe, because it's the first time this has been done in St. Kitts and Nevis and possibly the whole of the Caribbean. I'm saying let us take the opportunity to build and go forward. Let us be more productive in whatever we do. But I want to thank the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for their hard work. The year coming can present its own challenges. There are threats. Threats if there's a recession. Threat if there's a major hurricane. Threat to any of our sectors here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we have to seek to work to protect our sectors and to make us more resilient by diversifying our economy as we go forward. But I want our people to know that this was not an easy undertaking and it cost the government money, but our people are in a better stead to move forward. I want to say that good governance is at the center of what we do. Good governance across the CBI. And I appreciate the questions asked with respect to the CBI, and to say that our due diligence and security parameters are some of the strongest that you will find. And we have one in court showing our seriousness to make sure that we are a responsible country. And so our partners understand that as well. There are questions surrounding the CBI which I inherited. And under the good governance, we will deal with them. Everything cannot be dealt with overnight, but we have dealt with the critical parameters as quickly as we could have. The issues, of course, will continue to surface and we'll continue to deal with them proactively, not wait until something happens to deal with them. That is why we are ahead of the curve when it comes to issues of the CBI. So if persons talk about this company on the investigation or that, the other, we have already beaten them because we have tightened our belt. And we'll continue to look at ways of making sure we create the best product as we are just adjudged to have at this particular time. And so I want the people to know that I am never on a witch hunt. And I hope persons out there are not on a witch hunt, but to make sure that what they do is responsible. And so we will continue to be responsible here. Good governance will apply to all. And those who wish not to comply, they have a choice, and it doesn't mean anything bad. Some people might say, well, I can't accept that position because of whatever, and that is fine as well. But in this administration, good governance will be a centerpiece of it. And so I want to say, finally, as I wrap up, that as we build towards a sustainable island state, let's all get on board to make sure that we make St. Kitts and Nevis the best country that we can have. Thank you very much. Hope you had an excellent independence celebration. Let's look forward now to move forward, working together even closer to really achieve what we want to achieve. Thank you very, very much. And I must update the people that as part of the independence celebration, I have been invited by our nationals in Washington, D.C. to participate again in their celebration of Independence 40. And as I promised them that for Independence 40, I will celebrate both here in St. Kitts and Nevis and with our nationals in the diaspora, because they are a fundamental part of our national advancement and development as well. So with that, thank all of you. Thank you, the media, for coming out. And of course, your questions, are challenging as usual, but this is how we should have it so that we can remain transparent and open. And I want to thank the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for spending their time with me this morning, and to thank the team of cabinet who continues to support me and to make sure that this government continues to grow from strength to strength. Thank you very much.